What is going on, everybody? Tunji again from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring that bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. Welcome to my how to use background series. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make simple poster, and I'm also going to be sharing some design tips that will guide you where coming up with good design is concerned. So without any further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things to consider when working on design project. On my slide here, I have color as the number one. Design looks dull when colors don't combine well. Limit color use as you limit font use to communicate real differences. Color can be used to highlight the important part of a project. And on my second slide here, I have image cropping. Now, I know most designers don't know this. The way you crop your image on your design project is very, very important. Placing image correctly is another attribute of making your design project successful. Image cropping is very key in graphic design. All right, so we're going to be working on a project together, and I'll share with you what I'm trying to say here. And then on my third slide here, I have the focal point. All right, now focal point is also one of the key thing you need to consider when working on design project. The intentional lack of focal point is achieved by making elements the same. One of the ways to create focal point is to consciously reverse the size of elements. So when you make all the elements on your design the same size, and you make one of those elements size to be different from the rest, you've created focal point. A building size and purpose are the architect's first consideration. Graphic design share the same sensation. Determining a document purpose and its page size are the first decision a designer must make. This will help you to know the layout to use and what should be your focal point. This design was sent to me by one of my group members. After explaining why the design was not successful, the group members voted for this design to be redesigned so they can understand my point. So I'm going to be using this design to practicalize all that I explained on my slide. Now, the application I'm going to be using to work on this project is going to be Photoshop. The fact that I'm using Photoshop does not mean you can't use any other application. What you just need to do is work with any application that you are familiar with. When you receive a brief from a client, you need to first edit it. Check out for errors. I'm going to be showing you guys how I do this. So if you look at this brief that was sent to me by one of my group members, you will realize that we have some repetition here. So the part where we have the if you want to buy a good car, you'll notice that we also have the same information here. So what we'll need to do is to edit this. So I'm going to take out the if you want to buy a car. All right, so we are going to make this one line. So I'm going to make it capital B, and I'll push this down. Okay, so let's check if there are still repetition on the brief. Okay, so we have location here and we have location here also. So if I take out the location from one of this, it may affect my layout. So I think for the location part, let's just leave it. Okay, and I think that's it. So let's go straight to Photoshop and start work on the project. Okay, so let's create a new document. So I'm going to click on File and I'll select New. So for this project, I'm going to be using 700 by 700. I'm going to use 700 here, and my resolution is going to be 100. Since I'm planning to put this on social media, so there's no need for me using high resolution. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to call this car poster. All right, so color mode is fine. Background is good to go, and I'm going to click on the create button. I have my exercise files here, but like I said in the presentation, that before starting any project, you need to first of all know the layout. Okay. And what I'm trying to say is the part where I mentioned the architects. So for this project, I need to first of all create my guides. So to do that, I'm going to go to view and I'll select new guide here. So I'm going to make this 2, right? And I'm going to turn on the rows. I'll make that 2. My gota is fine with 20, and I'm going to make my margin a 40, 40, 40. I'll make this 40. Good. So I'm going to click on OK button. So for now, I'm going to hide the guide. So I'm going to use the shortcut to do that, which is Control H on my keyboard. And I'm going to drag and drop the road image like so. So I'm going to scale this big like so, and I'm going to zoom out, and I'll hold on Shift and drag down. All right. And I'll make this bigger a little bit more, and I'll push this up and push this down again and push this up like so. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add a layer mask to this. So I'm going to click on the layer mask icon on the same layer, and I'm going to select the brush tool. So I'm going to just use my brush to take out some part of the road layer like so. All right. Yeah. So this is it. I'm going to hit X to switch to white so as to add some part of the road back to the scene like so. So I'm going to just take this out. So, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the image of my car. So I'm going to drag this and drop here like so. All right. I'm going to flip this, scale this down. All right. Move this down to about this point. So I'll drag this and drop like so. Position this somewhere around here. All right. So I can even shift select the 2 layers and bring out the free transform and scale the 2 layers big like so. Let's move them close to each other. So like I said in my slide that we need to always have a focal point on our project. So the way it is now on this project, the placing of the cars is not balanced. So something needs to be bigger than the other so as to give the project more interesting look. So I'm going to select this car, all right, and I'll bring out the free transform and make this big, because making them the same size is going to make the project dull. I'm going to move this above this. Okay, so the whole idea is to make it look like there's a car in front of the other one. So I'm just going to shift select the 2 cars now, and I'll move this to this side. All right, now you see now that we're beginning to give the placing of the cars life. So I'm going to move this to about this side right here, and this should be here. Yeah, so this is good. All right, and so there's one other thing I do again when it comes to placing images on my project. I don't joke with shadows. Okay, so I'm going to work on the shadow on these cars now so as to make it look more real. All right, so to do that, I'm going to just create a new layer so as to be able to explain how I work with shadow when it comes to a project like this. I'm going to just call this line. All right, and I'm going to call this I'm going to make this red color. All right, and I'll select the brush tool. Just as in my brush and use the stepper brush. All right, so I want to act as if there's a light coming out from this angle. All right, so I'm going to take out some part of the shadow on this side of the car so as to make the project look more real. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the layer of the car, and I'll add a layer mask. I'm going to select the brush tool, and I'll zoom in like so and select the soft round brush, and I'm just going to reduce the size of my brush and turn on the transfer option. All right, so if you are not using a graphics tablet, I would advise you use the flow. All right, so you can turn your flow down when you are trying to perform the same task I'm about to do now. Right, so I need to make this be on my pen pressure option, and just going to start brushing like so, right? So using the brush like so. So part of the brush after the scene. So 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 to take out the shadow from the layer, you need to be on black. Your foreground need to be on black. But if you want to add the shadow back to the layer, you need to switch back to white. All right. So the shortcut to do this is X. Or if you can't remember the shortcut, you can always use this icon here to toggle between the colors. All right. So my shadow is not really strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make copies of this layer. So I'm going to use my shortcut, which is Control J to do that. Now you see my shadow is now looking stronger. All right. And I'm going to put the two layers in a group. So I shift selected the two layers and I'm going to hit Control G on my keyboard and I'll call this car 2. All right. And I'm going to add the layer mask to this again and I'm going to start brushing like so. Now you need to be very careful when you're doing this, okay? So because if you move to this extreme, you see you start taking out some part of the tires, so that is not part of the plan. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to go back and I'm just going to take out some part of the shadow from the car layer. All right, so I'm going to do this so I'm going to zoom out. All right, so I think I still need to take out some shadow from this side of the car, so I'm just going to increase the size of my brush and I'm just going to gently take out some part of the shadow, add again, and just, you know, take out some shadows again, just like so. Now this is big, this is looking real. Okay, so one other thing I need to do again now is to add depth to my road. So I'm going to select the road layer. Now the advantage of doing this is that when you add depth to your images on your project, it makes it look interesting. There's this feel that will make your project look that when people see it, it makes it look mature. So I'm going to add curve to this. All right, now this is how I do this. So I'm going to click on this icon to say I want it to apply to only the road layer, and I'm going to drag this down like so and push this up like so. Now one other reason why I'm making this darker is because I want to be able to add content to the bottom part of the road. Okay, so I'm going to leave this as is, and for the cars, all right, so I'm going to put the two cars again in a group. So I'm going to call this cars, and I'm going to add a curve adjustment again, and I'll click on this icon to apply it to just only the group. So I'm going to click and drag this down and move this up like so. Okay, and if you look at it now, you see we're beginning to have this solid calm look on the project. Okay, so you see now it's beginning to look mature. So this is the before and this is the after. Now our background is looking empty. All right, so I wanted to look as if the car is actually coming out from somewhere. Okay, that's how I work most time. So I'm going to add something like a building. So I'm going to drag that and drop here like so. All right, so I'm going to increase the size of this image. So I got this image from unsplash.com. So I'm going to just position this here, and this needs to be below the layer of the cars, and I'm going to right click on this and rasterize it. So what I'm going to do is to convert this to black and white. So I'm going to use the shortcut, which is Ctrl Shift U. But if you can't remember the shortcut, you can always go to image, and select adjustment, and then you see desaturate here. All right. So once you click on it, it changes to black and white. All right. So I'm going to reduce the opacity of this just like so, and I'm going to add a layer mask to this again. I'll select the brush tool, increase the size of my brush. All right, so now when you are placing images on your project, all right, anything that you notice that is not adding to the project, please don't use it, because if you look right here, we have the logo of the company that owns this building, so we need to take out the logo. So I'm going to just brush that out like so, and just take out some part of the building from this side like so. right? So this is looking cool for me. So I can even take down the opacity a little bit more. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna move this and create a new layer, and I'll hit the fill transform adjustment, and I'm gonna hit flip horizontal, and I'll move it to this side. Now, one of the advantage of doing this is any element, all right, anything I put in between these two buildings is going to catch people's attention. Okay, so I'm gonna move this up a little bit. All right, I want it to actually go out from the frame like so. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to start adding our text. So I'm going to copy the caption. Okay, so just click here and I'll hit Control V on my keyboard. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the color of my text from the side of my project. All right, so like I said in the slide, that the lack of using color is going to make your project dull. So I'm going to change this to horizontal. All right, so the reason why I'm using this type of font is because it looks more corporate. All right, this look more corporate, and that's why I'm using it. So I'm going to push this down and push this down. Scale this big like so. All right. So one other way you can make people know that this is the first, after seeing the card, this should be the next thing you want them to see, is to make, to make it a little bit abstract. So that's what I'm about to do here now. So I'm just going to make this bold. All right. So I'm going to use the bold. So when working on project like this, it's always good to work with super fonts family, so as to be able to switch from bold to italics and regular. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit. All right, and this is good for me. All right, so because I'm adding some content here, let's move this above all layers. So I'm going to just push the car and the building with the road up a little, like so. All right, so I'm going to position this here. All right, and I'm going to bring out my guide, which is Control H. All right, and I'm going to draw a rectangle shape with my shape tool, and I need to move this out from the curve, and I'm going to choose white here, right? And so I'm going to move this, bring out the free transform, and I'll move this a little bit to this side. All right, I will make a copy of this. I'll move this here, and for this one, I'm just going to change the color to orange, because I want to be able to guide my viewers' attention to this bottom part of my frame. So I'm going to double click here and pick a color from the light of the car. So I'm going to zoom in. I think I like this shade of orange. Let's pick the shade of orange. Let's up a little bit. Now notice how I'm picking my colors. My colors are from the project, all right? So I'm just going to move this in. So this is one way to know that the color on your images are also part of the color on your project. So I'm going to make this white, and I'm going to make this go up. Oops, that's too much. So let's make it, let's say 4. Okay, and she select the 2, then, and I'll move this down like so. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to bring out the free transform again, and I'll move this into about this point. Bring out the free transform again and move this here, like so. All right, so just going to copy million, and I'm going to paste it. All right, then I'm going to position it here. Now this needs to be above this, and I'm going to use the bold. Okay, so it's the bold font of the current standard. and I'm gonna scale this big like so. So we need to put the Naira symbol on this, which is Nigerian currency. So I'm just going to bring out the free transform and scale this down just like so. And I'm gonna make my color white. Okay, now you can always make it blue, but for the sake of the people with glasses, so I need to make it white. So I'm going to move this down. All right. Then I'm going to make a copy of this and move this up. And I'm going to change this to below, right? And B. So I'm going to change this to cap by clicking on this icon here and scale this down. Like so, and this needs to go up. Like so, right? Okay. So one other thing we need to do again is to help the people that may find it difficult to know that this is money we're talking about here. So we need to make this have the Naira sign. So I'm going to draw a rectangle shape with my shape tool. Just position this here and so, and I'm going to make this white. Okay. Let's make a copy of this, and I'll move this down like so, and I'm just going to use the up and down arrow key to move this down. Okay. All right. So I'm going to add the location, pick and drag, copy, and I'm going to just paste that with a text frame. All right. And I'm going to change this to horizontal. So the font I'm using here is called the Corisander, and I'm going to turn off the cap icon, and I'm going to move this, justify it to the left, and this should go down. Now we can hardly see the text, so we need to change the color to this shade of blue here. All right, so I'm going to bring out the free transform, and I'm going to move this in. All right, and move this out like so, and I'm going to add space between them. All right, so I'm going to make this 10. All right, and this should go now. So I'm going to change just only the location color to this shade of orange, and I'll make it bold. What I'm going to do now is to shift select the layers, that's the information here, and put them in a group. All right. All right. So the advantage of doing this is so as to save time. So I'm going to call this below, and I'm going to drag this and drop here, and I'm going to, position it here. So I'm just going to call this one above. Okay. So I'm just going to copy and paste it right here. So I'm going to move this out. So, and I'm going to zoom in. All right. So I'm going to shift select the two shapes. Now bring out the free transform, and I'm just going to move this up a little. Okay, so I'm going to hit the Control R on my keyboard to bring out the ruler, and I'm going to position this here. Then I'm going to go straight to the below group, and I'll do the same thing. All right, so you need to be consistent with the way you position the element on your design. All right, consistency make good design. Okay, so I'm going to position this here, so, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Moving this up, so, okay, so so what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it again. So I'm going to do this. You know what, let's just position the information in the box before we adjust the shapes. So I'm going to move this up to about this point like so. All right. Yeah. So then I can move this up like so. So just zoom in. So move this up just like so. Okay. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll move this here like so. So I'll go straight to the below group and I'll do the same thing. Right? So push this up and for the information and the shape, I'm going to just put that up like so. So if I hit the Control H on my keyboard now, you see we have um, this, but I'm not really comfortable with the positioning of the money, so I need that to be at the center. Sorry, to be at the center of the frame. All right, so I need that to be at the center like so, and we'll do the same thing here. So this will be at the center. So yeah, this is good. So I'm gonna hit Control H on my keyboard, and we need to move this up a bit, okay? And also the cars needs to go up with the road. All right, so I'm going to just shift select them and so move them up like so. Okay, so I'm just going to paste that here. Right, so I need to move this out so as to be able to see the text. And I'm going to put this here like so. Just going to scale this down a little. This should go down. So, all right, so this is the final result of the project. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have not subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring that bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. Okay, so if you're able to achieve anything with the help of this tutorial, kindly post it on your Instagram page and remember to use the hashtag Ceasar Graphix. Okay, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Peace.